Welcome to day 259 of the 300 Movie Challenge. Today we watched the highest grossing film of December 2015, which was, as you probably have guessed, Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Okay,
Yep.
so I think this is my fourth time seeing this.
What?
Really?
Third or fourth. I only saw it once in theaters. Now, everything I am going to say in this discussion is from the mindset of this is like where we are timeline-wise. Okay? So I'm gonna talk as if, Force Awakens just came out, we know nothing about any of the future movies.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just prefacing that right now because someone's might otherwise be like, wait, something you said is like not true or something, and I'm like, that's where I'm coming at this from. I'm gonna basically completely ignore that those other movies are even a thing. So,
Is it so that we're spoiler free?
right, so just to keep anything spoiler free. And I'm also gonna reference like maybe theories and other stuff like that people had after this movie came out.
Okay.
Now, I think so I was trying to think like how we should kind of structure this because we want to cover everything but not meander for 3 hours. So,
Yeah.
okay. First thing I think is appropriate is just to say, do you have any questions?
Questions?
Yes.
What is the time skip?
30 years.
30 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so 30 years
Believable. I
after
mean-
Return of the Jedi.
It's been approximately 30 years because this was like the first episode was like 1979 or something.
77.
Something like
So,
that.
Return of the Jedi was 83, and this is 2015, so yeah, it's been 32 years.
Okay, so
Okay.
they kind of went with, oh yeah, hey, it's been 30 years. Let's set it 30 years in the future. Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Okay. What other questions do I have?
I can't think of anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was the most important question that I had.
That's
Just
fair.
like, how long has it been, I guess, and how does that affect
Yeah.
Yeah,
time.
because
Yeah.
to be fair, like when I was watching this, I was trying to think of it also like from your guys' mindset, and I feel like a lot of info that like people that the movie kind of expects you to know things
Mm.
that like
Yeah.
is told to you, but kind of in a bit of an obtuse way. So. And I think a lot of the stuff that it expected you to know came from, like, the marketing and the trailers and stuff like that leading up to it. So, like, for example, and I might be wrong about this, but I don't think I am, Kylo Ren being Han and Leia's son, like, that was, like, known, I'm pretty sure. So, because they kind of treat it as, like, is it supposed to be, like, a revelation or not? Like, it's kind of weird, right? So there's that, and then like the whole, I mean, just like the political dynamic of what's going on with like the Republic, and there's also the First Order, and then there's this resistance, and also like, wait, huh? It's just kind of some things about that.
I mean, I guess I kind of like expected that to be explained later.
Yeah.
Since in the
that's
first,
fair.
yeah, in the first movie, it's not super gone into because they were like, okay, it's just a one-off space opera adventure, but then they added on the second, third, and subsequent movies later.
Right.
Okay,
True.
that's fair.
So I'm kind of like, okay, so they're just kind of setting it up. I'm sure that they'll go into it a little bit later.
Okay.
That's kind of, I guess, like, if I know it's going to be a series, I'm just like, okay, they're going to just explain it later. And
I guess,
Yeah.
like, thinking about, like, other movies we've seen where that's a thing.
yeah.
Like, for instance, James Bond does that a lot, where they
Yeah.
kind of expect you to know a couple of things already off the top of your head
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, and then I do think that like, well, okay, I'm gonna cover that later. Okay, so let's kind of one by one go through the characters,
Okay.
starting with Rey.
Okay.
What do you think of Rey?
I like her.
She's definitely much better than Katniss ever did.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of people. Okay, I've heard both sides of the argument. I've heard people call her a Mary Sue, but I personally don't see it. I mean, I guess like people are like, oh, but she uses the Force so quickly, but I'm just like,
Luke kind of did the same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole coding a female character who's competent as a Mary Sue just because it hurts your male ego.
So
that's kind of how I'm seeing it.
I'm very glad you brought this up without me bringing it up.
Yeah, I've seen discourse about it already.
So many people talk about how, like, oh my god, Rey somehow is super good with the Force without, like, any training, and it's like, so was Luke. Like,
yeah.
And again, so if you have a problem with it now, you should have had a problem with it then. And I guess I've seen people argue, oh, well, Luke is, Anakin's son, and he's great with the Force. That makes sense. And it's like, well,
so
okay.
What?
But even go further. Why was Anakin great with the Force then? Right? And then again, they try to hand wave it with... Well, yeah, but, like, oh, come on. Is that your great explanation? I thought everyone hated that. You know what I mean? So it's like... And again, we don't know who Rey's parents are. Right?
Yeah.
So that's another thing where it's like, you don't know how that works, right?
Not only that, but if it's like, okay, well, if Anakin didn't have a father and stuff, who says that Rey could have had a similar birth case and stuff too?
Yeah, exactly. We don't know anything about that right now. So, I don't... That complaint is just... I don't understand that complaint. If anything, I kind of like it in terms of what they're going for, especially with the dynamic with Kylo Ren.
I thought that fight between her and Kylo, that was really good.
That was a really nice fight, especially since it was interesting seeing the lightsabers in the snow and how that like kind of reflected in the dust particles and everything, and how that was just a really pretty fight scene.
And they're as of right now, this is not touched upon too much, but it's there, and it's this idea that let me stop that sentence and let me get to the next character. Kylo Ren.
Okay.
Overall opinion of Kylo Ren.
He was pretty cool. I guess, small side note, like I only knew about all the new characters in the Star Wars series because of Disney's Tsum Tsum Camp, because they had a Star Wars event thing, and then I got Rey and I got Kylo Ren.
Oh, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
In hindsight.
In hindsight, yeah, it's pretty funny. So, and that's how I knew about the fact that he had like the 3-prong thing and whatever. And stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I like using Kylo Ren like in the game and stuff. So I really hope like as a character he's also likable and everything. And yeah, I actually find it pretty nice, especially the scene with him and Han Solo and stuff. I mean, it's really sad.
It's really sad.
But the way they went about it and the way that they like showed the fact that he is like fighting an internal battle and everything, I think was portrayed pretty well.
Yeah, like compare Kylo Ren to like Attack of the Clones Anakin.
Oh, well, Kylo Ren definitely.
Because they're again, the idea is kind of similar, although Kylo Ren at this point was more dark than light, whereas Anakin in Attack of the Clones is more light than dark, right? But similar ideas, right? And it's just like it's not even close. And so, and the thing that I hear always is that Kylo Ren is like a whiny like bitch who like can't control himself, and he's like and he's lame and he sucks.
I've heard discourse about him kind of representing like toxic masculinity, but I guess I could see it being read as like that kind of idea is what's poisoning him, and it's not him circulating it, it's him reacting to it, because that is something that happens too.
Well, I'll go a step further. Everything I just said is true. That's the point. The point is that he can't control himself. The point is that he's kind of lame, but he's fighting so hard, because again, the whole like thing where he's talking to like, Vader's helmet, where like he's trying so hard to be cool, right?
Yeah.
And he's
he's like Shen.
Yeah, no, he is very similar to Shen. And so he's very obsessed with like, I'm so strong and I know what's great and whatever, but he has this deep-seated insecurity of what's going on. And again, it just kind of touches on this as of right now, but this gets back to what I was talking about with Rey. With that fight, and also with them in general, Rey is naturally very strong in the Force. She's just untrained, right?
Yeah.
Where Kylo Ren's kind of the opposite. He's had a ton of training. Of course, they mentioned like how Snoke did stuff with him, but then also like they said about how Luke was with him at first, right? So he's had lots of training. He has a lot of experience for at least several years, and he's getting shown up by Rey. And think about like that sort of dynamic and mentally like what he's thinking about in that regard, right?
Yeah.
How, like, so it's kind of feeding into his like inferiority.
Yeah,
complex.
Exactly. And like it works super well in the sense of like, you know, it's that kind, and again, like kind of what you're saying about the toxic masculinity, more like a specific element of it where it's like, you know, I've done all the things. Why aren't I like good?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a really, really interesting thing where it's like, you know, it's kind of, I remember we mentioned this somewhere, but it was on that topic of like relationships and how guys, you know, they kind of like treat this as like, well, I did A, B, C, and D. Why don't you like me? Right. So it's kind of the same idea, but now it's I've done A, B, C, and D. You know, why aren't I powerful?
I not stronger?
Yeah. And like, and the fact that here's this random girl who's like has done like nothing, but she's like better than him. Like, he's like, he would be so fucking pissed at that, right? And it's like, again, they're not there yet, but it's like they're starting in that, and it's like, oh, I really, really like that. I like that a lot, and I like it especially as like a contrast to other bad guys that they've had in Star Wars. Again, like for example, you know, Vader, of course, was just kind of the seeming as this all-powerful monster, right?
Yeah.
Which was changed through the later movies, but definitely started out like that. The Emperor kind of similar, and like you know, so they're very that kind of presence. Where this,
they're kind of one-dimensional, I guess.
Yeah, and again, that's fine for what you're wanting to do, but it's different, and it's, I don't know, I just find it really interesting. So yeah, and I like him a lot here. Yeah, and I think the performance also works really well for him too.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, Mai said something interesting that I kind of agree with.
Oh, I thought he kind of looks like Snape a little bit.
Oh, yeah, no, he kind of does, actually.
I was, like, looking at his face, and I'm just like...
It's like a baby Snape.
You're like, yeah, like young Snape, and I'm just like, you don't really look like Harrison Ford or Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, no, whatever.
So, on that note, if you think about Snape and how his character, like, evolved throughout, like
when you think about it, they both have like people complaining about the same things with both characters.
Yeah. They're actually pretty similar characterization wise too.
Yeah.
Except
we don't know how Kylo Ren ends at the moment.
Yeah.
Right. So. And okay, so let's see. Let's go to Finn.
My baby. He's a precious little cinnamon roll. I really like him, okay?
Okay. Didn't expect that.
I also didn't expect that.
I keep adopting random characters from like Star Wars. First it was like little baby 5-year-old Anakin, now it's Finn.
I thought it was really interesting because when they first showed the stormtroopers, I was like, wait a minute. I thought they were all like gone and everything because of the whole thing where the whole point of them was that they were all clones and stuff.
Yeah.
Right,
but then when
actually let me interject with that for a second. So again, from the prequels, the originally all the stormtroopers were clones, and the idea was that after the actual Clone Wars, when the Empire was really kind of building itself up, that they then started recruiting a bunch of like normal people into being stormtroopers. And then
I think he vaguely mentioned something first mission, so he must have joined.
Well, right, so then there's that, but then the First Order basically took, once the Empire fell, the First Order kind of took a lot of, this is sort of the backstory that has been, as of this point, in terms of this movie, had been told, but just not, in the movie itself. It was that, so, the Emperor dies, the second Death Star blows up, but there's still a bunch of, like, generals and powerful people within the empire that are still around. So they basically tried to like fight for control, and and so then, for example, on Jakku, there's like that like the Star Destroyer that's like in the sand, right?
Yeah.
And so that was apparently like there was a battle of Jakku, which was the rebellion versus like those remnants of those generals, and that was kind of the actual like final battle for the Empire. So, but then not everyone died, and basically some of those guys kind of escaped into somewhere, and then that coalesced into kind of the First Order. So that information, at least how I've said it there, has been told at this point in some degree. But I'm, of course, kind of generalizing. And then also, they mentioned this really kind of briefly here, where they say that, like, the First Order, like, they literally just, like, kidnap, like, babies, right? And, like, raise them and indoctrinate them to be stormtroopers. Like, that's what happened to Finn. So... Yeah, now, the one thing that I'm a little iffy on for Finn is how, like, if what I just said is true, then, like, that one battle kind of in the beginning kind of completely flipping him to being, like, basically all of those years of, like, conditioning just kind of went away just from that one moment. That, and how he's, like, completely flipped, like, that's a little bit iffy. Now, his character himself is fine, and I like that. I just feel like that's... Because I think... And again,
like, that detail.
Right, and the thing is, I think it could have actually been super interesting if they legitimately had someone who was, like, you know, totally conditioned by the First Order, but, like, didn't want to, you know, wanted to support, like, the resistance, but, like, they had this sort of, you know, the mentality and the conditioning, that was still there. Right? That's not who Finn is at all. So this would be a completely different person, right? So I just think that would have been interesting, but I don't think that, like, Finn is bad by any means, so I'm not saying that. It's like a one thing that I'm like, oh, it'd been cool if they did this, but I still think Finn is overall fine, so.
Yeah, I think he's a good character and everything, too.
He's a precious little baby.
I found it interesting, too. We're just seeing, like, the flip and everything, because up until this point, they were just, like, faceless.
Yeah.
Random.
Yeah.
Again, with the whole one-dimensional thing. It's like, the masses of the stormtroopers are bad, but then you have, like, this one... I find it kind of, like, good, since they all are identical, that they marked him with, like, the bloody hand.
Yeah.
So that you're just like, wait, this stormtrooper is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a good way weird.
Yeah, let's see. Next, Poe.
I found him... I like his character and everything.
Yeah, I wish we saw more of him.
Yeah, that's basically what I say completely, is he's just not very present, so...
Yeah. I mean, he's got a good baseline, but he's just kind of like... He kind of reminds me of, like, Leia a little bit, like, when she was younger.
Yeah, especially, like, in the first movie where she doesn't do a ton. So,
yeah.
And then, let's see. Okay. There's a bunch of, like, okay. There are several, okay, let's look at, there's the kind of 3 First Order characters besides Kylo Ren, okay? There's Snoke, there's General Hux, and then there's Captain Phasma, who's the, you know, the person in, like, the shiny stormtrooper armor.
Yeah.
All 3 of those don't really do much in this movie.
No.
I was very confused as to who was who.
Yeah, I was also very confused as to who was who. Like, I knew the general because he kind of seemed to be hell-bent on, like, annihilating everything.
Yeah, and the shiny stormtrooper lady was, like, I knew her voice.
Yeah.
But I didn't know her name, and I was like...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, they just don't do too much. Again, the kind of similar thing with Poe, although Poe is more present than them, but they're fine, but, like, they don't do very much, so...
Yeah.
But again, we have more movies, so, you know. And then... Okay, Snoke.
Who is he? Which one is he?
He's the
Supreme Leader
guy.
Yeah.
The purple.
The purple. Okay.
Well, he's not actually purple, but whatever. Okay. Sure.
Purple.
He's not actually purple.
He looked purple.
Well, it was like a hologram kind of thing in, like, a dark room. So, yeah. But anyway,
he's a purple hologram.
Sure. So, after this movie, there were basically 2 main questions. Okay. First one being, who the hell is Snoke?
Yeah. How did he get into power?
Right. This kind of everything about him, right?
Yeah.
Now, there, of course, are several theories.
Okay.
The main theory, and the one that I like the most, is that he is Darth Plagueis. Now, you probably don't remember this, but in Revenge of the Sith, do you remember when Anakin goes to talk to Palpatine in that, like, sort of, like, performance area where there's like people like in this like orb that are swimming around or something.
Yeah.
And Palpatine tells him a story about Darth Plagueis the Wise, which is someone who the idea is that he could actually manipulate the Force to like create life.
Oh.
Now Palpatine says that like his apprentice like killed him in his sleep. Now in actual lore with this, Darth Plagueis' apprentice is Darth Sidious, is Palpatine.
Oh, so he could have been lying?
So, well, not that he could have been lying, but that, hold on, the idea is that, well, wait a minute, if Plagueis could, like, literally use the Force to create life, couldn't he kind of just, like, prevent himself from dying? Like, that seems kind of stupid that you can give life to other things but not yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like, especially for a Sith, like, you know, the whole point of the Sith is it's individualistic, like, gains, right? So, you know, so then the idea is, like, sure, it would have seemed like he died, then Plagueis would have, like, escaped and hidden away in the background, and, like, you know, eventually he would be Snoke. Now, in, like, some books and stuff like that, before, Plagueis had been talked about, and actually he was revealed to, the species that Plagueis was actually, like, immune, which is, like, this... They're one of the guys who were in like the main like Confederate Confederacy of Independent Systems kind of guys, not like the weird Asian talking ones. But anyway, but that book where that was talked about was like it's not in official canon anymore because basically once Disney bought out Lucasfilm and was starting to make these movies, they basically like, okay, there's a ton of books that like and other stuff that cover like the time, you know, past Return of the Jedi and some other stuff too, and like so we basically just said all of that is just not canon anymore. So the stuff that was the stuff that was set up for Darth Plagueis is now not canon, except for again the mention in the movie, right, in Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
So again, and that said, so that's the main idea for Snoke, and it would also feel like it was kind of fitting where it's like, you know, who is this random, like, you're super bad guy, why is he here? Like, it would give him an actual, like, connection with everything else. Right? So, that was the area I liked the most. And in addition, something that actually adds to that is, during the scene where Kylo Ren is talking to him through, like, the hologram, the soundtrack in the background is a very kind of quiet, like, kind of humming almost. That soundtrack is almost identical to the soundtrack in that scene in Revenge of the Sith, where Palpatine and Anakin are talking.
Oh, interesting.
That is really cool.
Yeah, so that is the main idea. Again, that is the biggest theory as of the release of this movie. There were a few others. There's one that I don't really know how this is described, but there's one that he's actually like Mace Windu, which I don't really know why people think that, but okay.
Mace Windu?
Yeah. Another is that, of course, the idea is that he's actually Jar Jar Binks, but, you know, okay.
Jar Jar.
Yeah. And... I know there's one actually that I kind of thought was interesting was that is that he is Grand Moff Tarkin, who is the dude from the original movie who was on the Death Star, you know, the older British guy.
Oh.
And because the idea is like, oh well, the Death Star like exploded, but then that, you know, first of all he could have escaped, and also like even with because Snoke's face is kind of messed up, so that could be like injuries from that, and you know, so again, I think the Darth Plagueis theory is by far the best, but you know. Yeah, so anyway, that's the idea with that, but we don't know who he is. You know, okay. The second main question that came up is who are Rey's parents?
Yeah.
Now, there are basically three main theories. First is that she is another child of Han and Leia.
Oh, that might be interesting.
And
then why did they leave her?
Well, right, yeah, we don't know that. And one of the ideas being that, like, you know, Han seemed to pretty quickly, like, trust her and, like, want to interact with her, and that also, like, when she kind of came to meet Leia the first time, Leia kind of went over to her, like, immediately. So, that's an idea. It also would give more of a connection with Kylo Ren.
Right, because it'd be a battle between siblings.
Right, yeah. So that's one idea. Also, it mirrors a plot element from the now non-canon books where Han and Leia had actually 3 children, but two of them were twins, a boy and a girl. The boy ended up falling to the dark side, and the girl ended up dealing with him, basically. So it's mirroring. It would kind of be a mirror of that without just straight up doing it. The second idea is that she's actually Luke's daughter.
That's the impression I was kind of under for a while. Like, before watching the movie, like, I guess I'm open to interpretation now, but I was always like, is she just straight up Luke's child?
Right,
I mean, that would kind of also shut up that one side that's like, why does she have, like, supreme powers?
Yeah.
Right. So, that's not... Now the question is then, well, who is the mother? Right? So, that's a big unknown.
Was Luke asexually reproduced?
I mean, to be honest, who knows, right? So... Now, again, in those books, Luke did actually fall in love with some other woman, but she is never in any of the movies or anything like that, so...
Okay.
And I don't think... No, they did have a child. Did they? Yeah, they did. Okay. But anyway. The third idea is that she's actually the child of Obi-Wan.
Wait.
But she's too young.
Right, so that's the weird thing. But the main reason why this is thought up of is because you remember when she touched the lightsaber and she had all those visions, right?
Yeah.
At the very end, there's a voice that kind of calls out her name. That voice is Obi-Wan's voice.
What?
Oh, really?
Yes.
He's credited in the movie and everything?
Yeah, well, I don't know, but it is his voice. Okay, I don't know if it's credited in the movie, but that is definitely his voice. So that's the main idea for that. Because again, like, why the hell else would his voice be calling her, right? That seems kind of weird.
Yeah.
So...
but...
Again, like, now, in canon, Obi-Wan did have a kind of relationship with somebody, okay? But again, that happened, like, during the Clone Wars and even before that, so that's way too early. So... Yeah, that one, again, there's weird things with all of those ideas, right? So there's no... Unlike the Snoke one, where I think the Plagueis one makes by far the most sense, the Rey one, it's really up in the air as to, like, what which of those could be true. And granted, there's the fourth option, which is none of the above, right? So...
Yeah.
Just rando, faceless people.
Yeah, so... Again, those are just the ideas, and I'm throwing those out to you just to kind of have you think about it. Okay, let's see. Oh, let's talk about some of the returning characters. Namely, Han Solo.
He didn't really change that much in character, I don't think.
No.
I think all things considered.
I actually, in the original trilogy, I'm a little bit mixed on Han Solo. Especially early on. But I actually like him the most here.
I did kind of like him a little bit more, but I guess maybe it's like him kind of being more of a father-ish figure, which helps.
I guess the thing that I was saying with his character is that he still gets into trouble.
Yeah.
He still is kind of going off and doing his own thing and everything.
Yeah, and his personality, and kind of he has like some quips with people and stuff like that. So yeah. But I think I like him more here, and I think that kind of elevates him for me.
Kind of as a guiding hand. It was a bit better than him just being like the kind of asshole friend.
Yeah, definitely. No. And I think the scene again with Kylo Ren and him was also really powerful because it made sense in Han Solo's character.
Yeah.
To have done that.
Yeah. Did you guys know that he was gonna die?
I had heard about the fact that he wasn't going to be there because, well, when it got revealed that Leia's actress died and stuff, I think one of the articles brought that up and stuff when I was reading through.
Oh.
Yeah. It brought up the fact that Han Solo had passed away. Well, was killed
in the movies, but of course Harrison Ford is alive and well.
Yeah. But so I had known about it, but I didn't know in what way or how it was done.
I also heard that he had died, but I didn't know how. I think I just heard like, oh yeah, Han Solo died, and I'm just like, he's not dead. Especially like after we watched the original trilogy, I was like, he's not dead. you can't kill Han Solo.
Yeah.
Apparently they killed Han Solo in the first sequel movie.
Well, because I actually remember there was something where, like, I remember, because I've been kind of talking, like, to Mayu especially about just kind of my thoughts about some of these things. And I never said that Han Solo died, but I basically at one point during a conversation we had, I kind of let it slip that, like, it was something about, like, I was talking about the original trio of Luke, Han, and Leia, and how, like, I said something that implied that, like, Han is not in, like, The Last Jedi or something.
I think you said that, were we talking about Leia, or were we talking about Carrie Fisher? Because it was something I think, like, I thought of the three she would survive.
Right, yeah, okay. So, yeah, and, well, no, for that, I said, I thought, at, like, the end of all three movies, she would be the one to most likely to survive.
Right.
So that's kind of a different... Well, whatever. Okay. So, anyway. So, yeah, I like him a good amount. The others, I mean, okay. You know, Leia's fine in this. She's not in it too long. But we have her for, you know, next movie. And, well, we see Luke for, like, 10 seconds. So... and then, again, C-3PO and R2-D2 are kind of just... again, in there for a little bit of time. To be honest, I kind of like that, like, they don't focus on the old characters that much.
Yeah.
So...
And they throw, like, small hints of references and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So... yeah. Is there any other character to point to? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay. So...
Well...
I mean, he's fine for what he is.
Definitely not as vocal as R2-D2.
Yeah, I think I like R2 more, but, you know, he's fine. Okay, the overall plot.
It seemed like the plot was kind of mirroring, like, the trilogy a little bit.
Yeah,
okay.
Like, at the very beginning I was like, isn't this the same scene with Leia and R2-D2?
Yes, so this movie and the very first movie, A New Hope, are extremely similar.
Yeah.
Because I was starting to be like, okay, so Rey is Luke.
Yeah.
BB-8 is R2-D2.
Yep.
Finn, I kind of equate to C-3PO, actually.
Yeah, I can kind of see that, actually. That works.
Han Solo is Obi-Wan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, right up to the fact that he dies.
He dies by Kylo Ren, who is basically Darth Vader in this. Again, personality, no, but in terms of role,
yes.
yes.
They even have, like, the Death Star equivalent.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And again, the plot, I could literally, like, recite, like, you know, the plot summary in a way where it would describe perfectly both movies. So,
yeah.
That is a thing that people bring up, and yeah, honestly, I think that's this film's biggest problem. Is that it is... just, it's very similar. Like, I get, you know, theming and, like, certain set pieces or whatever, especially, like, are gonna, you know, kind of continue through, like, tropes and homages and stuff, but it's very similar. So...
Yeah. It leaned a little bit too heavily on, like, the nostalgia of the first movie.
Yeah. Now...
And I think that was, like, all of the similar parts, I was kind of like, okay, I've kind of seen this before, so I was kind of, like, looking for the new parts with, like, the new information and stuff.
Yeah. Now, that said, there are things I think this does better than the first movie. The main one for me is actually the acting and the dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dialogue is definitely much better.
Because the original is kind of hokey. Again, I'm not saying that's necessarily, like, bad, it's fine for what it is, but I think it's just more interesting. And I think also the acting is better here, like, especially comparing, like, Harrison Ford now to him back then. I think he's much more, like... Again, like what I say with Han Solo, he's more grounded as a character. You kind of believe him more.
I think overall, with the acting, the emotion is a lot more believable. It's more nuanced.
Yeah.
Now, so that's like a positive from that. Here's where I have another negative compared to the first movie. Now, the first movie, it was the first movie, right? So it had no baggage in terms of, like, having to, you know, place itself in a timeline and figure out that kind of stuff. Where this does... And, again, the stuff I mentioned to you about the whole Battle of Jakku and what happens to have the First Order start, that is not said in this movie.
Yeah.
And it should have been. And the biggest example for this is when the Starkiller base destroys the Republic like Senate planet. That just happens.
That kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it happens. And if you really think about this, that should have been like super tragic.
Yeah, because I was just like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, and you're confused, and you're kind of like, okay, like I get it's bad because the music says so, but like, you know, and I'm thinking like, okay.
The thing is too is that even if they didn't zoom in on like the planet and everything, you probably wouldn't have even been able to tell what planet it was either.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, they're like, I guess focusing on the people because it's the first planet they're gonna blow up.
Yeah, so okay. Again, all I'm about to tell you is not told in this movie. So, after the Empire fell, they kind of made a new republic. Okay, they put that back up, and now I don't know the exact details of this, and I'm not sure if this is stated or if it just isn't, and I don't know. But anyway, basically, the republic after it's been 30 years, and it kind of sort of has fallen into a bit of a quagmire again, kind of like the republic in the prequel trilogy. It's not quite as bad, but it's kind of getting there.
Okay.
And there's basically the First Order is kind of rumbling around in the background, and Leia is kind of like, guys, we should like do something about them. And the Senate's all like, oh, we don't have to worry about them. Oh, fucking, we're fine, you know. And so that's this whole resistance that kind of Leia sets up herself. That's like she's kind of not supposed to do. So that's supposed to be what that is. And then the Republic Senate or whatever. The idea is that, and again, this is a factoid which is present, but I don't really know why. So the idea is that the Republic Senate to be kind of more of a representation of like the galaxy itself. They actually like moved the capital around, so they would like literally just pick up and move to another planet after some time.
Okay.
So specifically, the planet that you see them being destroyed is the planet Hosnian Prime. Now, Hosnian Prime is specifically stated, and you kind of see it when it's about to be destroyed. It's a city planet, and so I'm like, wait a minute, why the fuck didn't they just have it be on Coruscant again?
Yeah.
Because then, now, granted, they still should have shown some of the Senate stuff and like kind of revealed what the situation is. Like, I remember that was a complaint people had about the prequels is, oh, there's too much politics or whatever. And it's like, well, now there's literally zero politics, and we kind of need some just to know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So they should have shown that. But even then, if they just still had it on Coruscant, that would have been way more impactful. Because like, wait, whoa, all this stuff with the prequels happened on Coruscant, and now the entire fucking planet's gone? Like,
right.
Holy shit, like that would have been much more of a deal, even if we didn't really know the Senate. So that would have been like a much more ballsy move in terms of like, yeah, this planet that's like super important in terms of Star Wars in general, yeah, it's just fucking gone now. Like, that would have been a really, like, that would, you know, in terms of, again, like, repeating plot elements, that would have been an actual, like, risk compared to, again, even the original movie. Yeah, they blow up a planet, they blow up Alderaan, but, like, Alderaan, it's Leia's homeworld, that's it, right? There's no real connection that we have to that planet. Whereas Coruscant, you have a connection, very strong one. So I'm like, oh, that would have been so much better. So I don't know why they just didn't do that. So yeah, that's kind of my main problem with that, and then the repeating of the plot. So the better acting and some better characters, I think, balanced it a little bit, but I'm still like, for example, do I like this more than the original movie? I for a long time I've been very split on this. I think now that I've seen this again, I think I'm going to have to say no. I think I like the original a tiny bit more, but
I think I do too.
They're pretty close, because I know some people say like, oh, this movie is like just a rip off of A New Hope, it sucks or whatever, and it's like, no, I don't agree with that at all. But it definitely has a lot of good stuff in it. It does have some repeating things, and there are a few things that it kind of should have done more, but it is ultimately, I do think this is a really solid movie. So
yeah, I think I might kind of still be on the line of, do I like this better or do I like the original better? Because I guess the thing is that I didn't really get attached to the original characters until like the second or third movie.
That is a good point.
That's fair.
For the fact that I actually like really like Rey and I like Kylo Ren, because like in the first movie I'm just like, R2-D2 is cool. I like the robot C-3PO, and Darth Vader is like kind of funny, but not funny, but I like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
But I was like, Luke is kind of lame.
Yeah. Leia's
kind of, she's competent, but she's kind of like not really there.
She's in the background.
Yeah, and then Han Solo's just kind of a dick.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like,
actually, yeah, now that you brought that up,
for right now,
I think I'm on the line.
For right now, I might softly say that I might actually like this movie a little bit more just because of the characters, since if we talked about the plot being very similar. So if knowing that, if you told me which character I'd rather be locked in a room with, I'd pick Rey over Luke.
Mm-hmm. And again,
that's just me,
yeah, for me it's very, very, very close between the two. So, and again, for me also, like, I'm coming at this from the angle of, like, I know this series really well, and I, especially a lot of the background, like, elements of, you know, what the history has been of the galaxy and the timeline through things. So I'm a bit more focused on, like, the overall plot significance of everything. So that's kind of my angle on it. So that's why again, the whole thing with the Senate being destroyed, like, that's probably more of an issue for me than it might be for you. So, like, and again, I still like the movie. It's very, very, very hard for me to argue one way or the other.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think now that you brought up characters and stuff, another thing that they did better in this film was the romance angle.
Well, they kind of don't really do. Well, it's very minimal.
It's very subtle, but it's very effective in that way. Because the problem with the previous Star Wars movies, prequels included, is that it's either in your face and completely obvious, and there's no subtlety whatsoever.
Yeah.
Or it's kind of like, why are these two people together in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, here it's kind of like, it's subtle. You can kind of see how the interactions work, and you can make your own assumptions and stuff.
I think this was like the only instance where I kind of believed that Han Solo and Leia like actually loved each other.
Yeah, I think so too. Because in the previous films, it's kind of like, are you sure?
Yeah, I agree with that. And another reason that I like Han Solo in this. Yeah, and then the only I'm just trying to think of anything else I can bring up in terms of like anything. I wish there were like a little bit more space battles, because you kind of only see.
Now that you mention it, there
aren't that many. Because you see again, there's the whole attack on Starkiller Base, which like at least especially in terms of like the X-wings, you don't really follow for very long. And there's a little bit of where when they first come in to rescue the guys on the planet's called Takodana. It's the jungle-y planet with Maz Kanata. So so like but that's kind of it. So I was like, I kind of wish there's a bit more of that. But let me just say, you will see plenty of that. So going forward,
okay.
So yeah, I see this as, I think I rated this like right below Age of Ultron.
Okay.
I think that was where I put it. It's very close to that. Kind of, that's how I see it. So, as like a solid movie, few things that are a little, but like, I still, like it a good amount. Kind of my overall take on it. So, it seems like you guys kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, is it?
I mean, it's better than the prequels.
Yeah. Okay. I'll talk about this more later, but there are several people who say that the prequel trilogy is better than the sequel trilogy.
Why?
Because they're butthurt individuals.
Look, let's save that conversation for later.
Okay.
Is it? Ooh, okay. Let's talk about this wonderful year that's been 2015.
Oh god.
This movie is definitely in the top half.
Yeah, it's. I think it's like
top 3.
Yeah, I'd say it's third best. I would say, okay, well, let's just go in order. So, Taken 3.
Oh yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah, I don't think
I forgot we watched it.
Yeah, jeez, that was stupid, lame. Who cares? Yeah, okay. And then there's
February.
Yeah, fuck February. March was all right.
Yeah, Cinderella was all right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Furious 7 was.
One very tiny detail.
The ending is really.
Oh yeah.
The best part.
The highlight.
The ending was definitely the best part, but yeah. Age of Ultron was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, not as I would.
Rated number 2.
Yeah. Jurassic World. I'm not getting into that conversation again.
No,
I am still just upset that like people like this movie, but whatever. Then there's a movie that like nope, skipping that. Straight Outta Compton was good.
Yeah.
I'd probably say that was 4th.
Yeah.
I'd kind of say that in terms of the year. Hotel Transylvania 2 was a thing.
Yeah.
Me. Martian was the best film of the year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty handily for that. And then Spectre was also just kind of
mixed bag, I suppose.
Yeah. And then there's this, which was also pretty good.
Yeah.
So, overall, again, there's some things that are good, but honestly, this year was like pretty bad.
Yeah, it's definitely the worst year going into like this decade.
Yeah, because I remember 2014 was like pretty dang solid. 2013 was a little bit mixed, but did have some like really good things. 2012 had a lot of good things. 2011, again, probably a bit more mixed, but did have some good things. And 2010 was also kind of mixed-ish, but yeah, like really, because again, this year had like 2 movies that are like bad.
Yeah,
right?
like actually awful.
Like legit awful. And then other movies that were also like bad, right? So yeah, I'm pretty like, is this like, how does this compare to like 1996? Honestly, I don't know. I'd have to check the rankings and compare the average.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
So.
I can't say off the top of my head.
It's just been a while since we had kind of a lame year overall.
Yeah, which is arguably a good thing, but yeah, this has been the worst year in quite a while, so it's unfortunate.
On that note, it's actually interesting that you brought up a certain character during this discussion, considering the next movie that we're seeing.
Oh yeah, so.
Oh, actually, wasn't there was a character in this movie who has the same name as the protagonist of the next movie?
Oh yeah, I mean it's spelled differently, but whatever.
It is spelled differently, but
yeah. So I'm surprised that this next movie is actually like a January movie because it's like actually good. But yeah, actually, okay. So after that, looking forward to 2016. There's a good amount of stuff actually coming up that I think is really good.
Yeah.
There are a few things that are not, but
they're right next to each other. That's great.
They are. So, oh boy, we'll get to that when we get to that. But for now, I think overall, 2016 should be a bit better. I think, but but then again, if you told me before, how do you think 2015 is gonna go? I probably would have thought better than it was. So, but we'll find out.
What can you do?
Yep. So I guess that's that, and we're under an hour. Hooray, we did it!
Yay!
We still, I think Avatar is still the longest conversation, which is like over 50 minutes. But
oh my goodness.
Anyway, okay, so we're gonna stop now, and we'll see you back for a somehow good January movie.
Yes.
Bye.
Oh, bye.
Peace.